facing a crisis of trust in my marriage. Ada for telling my husband that I see him as a liability and not a partner. Sorry for the long post, it's 2 a.m. and I'm crying and tired and worn out. If I'm rambling, it's because I've held this in for so long, not wanting to burden friends or family with my marital troubles. I 34F have been with my husband 37M, we'll call him Nathan, for 8 years. Ever since our daughter 3F was born, I have been unable to trust Nathan with anything, no matter how small. Background context: when I was 19, after a semi-truck driver fell asleep at the wheel and turned my car into scrap metal with me inside it. I have enough metal holding me together that I light up like a Christmas tree for TSA and physically impaired with good days and bad days. I used a portion of my settlement check to buy a house outright and have it retrofit to accommodate my needs, as I'll eventually require a wheelchair. I work in software development as it's fun and nobody cares if I work from bed on bad days. My husband has not worked in 5 years, which has been fine until our daughter was born. Between the settlement money, a paid-off house, and my salary, I enjoyed having him here with me. He contributed by handling most of the domestics. We pay for a weekly cleaner with monthly deep cleaning because it gave us more time together. Ever since our daughter was born, it was like a light switch turned off in his head. For our daughter, he would buy the wrong size diapers. Not fully mixed bottles. Put diapers on backwards. Leave out poop-covered wipes. Forget to latch cabinets. This past week he has gone to the store 3 times because he keeps coming home with the wrong size socks and shoes for her. I eventually just ordered the right ones on Amazon. For me, he has tried to help me with my weekly pill organizer fill up, and several times has spilled the contents of new medications all over the floor. Then, not seeing that he didn't get all of them off the floor, he has repeatedly brought me grapefruit juice to take my medications with a huge no. He has repeatedly forgotten that I can't have dairy and puts milk in my coffee, or cheese on a burger. He has broken so many things of mine from being careless. He shattered my laptop because it slipped out of his hand when he tried to pack it for a trip, even after I said I would pack my own electronics. We've lost so many spoons and forks to the disposal. He tried to replace the head gasket in my car and over-torqued the engine bolt, which shattered inside the block, and 2 different shops said they couldn't repair it. We ended up getting a new vehicle because a replacement engine would have cost $11,000. A week later, he crashed the new car into the garage door because he thought he'd pressed the brakes, not accelerator. He wanted to do TikToks and streaming as a hobby. I supported him initially, but I quickly noticed a pattern. Anything regarding our daughter or me, he was sloppy and careless. He never whooped his own stuff. He would build entire sets to stream or make videos with, leave the garage and leave his brain in the garage. It came to a head 4 nights ago. He streamed himself building a new set piece, 9 hours straight. Meanwhile, I worked, clocked out early to pick up our daughter from summer camp, cooked and fed both of us, got her ready for bed. He came out to help put her to bed. I let him know that I needed to get some work done and would be in my office, and I asked him to take the trash out. He says he will. 2 hours later, I left my office and the house felt really warm. He'd taken the trash out but left our front door partially open and was back in the garage with his game volume really loud. I panicked since our daughter is able to get out of bed, and thankfully she was sound asleep. But she could have easily toddled right out of the house and he wouldn't have noticed. Then I noticed a stovetop burner was on, with a small pot on it with nothing inside. I didn't use the stove for cooking that night. I popped my head into the garage and said, "Hey, I need you for a minute." I informed him of the door situation and he responds, "I thought I locked it." We checked the camera and no, he did not. I asked about the burner being on and he said he was planning to make ramen and forgot. He pulled the still hot pot off the burner and put it straight into the sink on top of our daughter's favorite plastic plate, which is now ruined. I'll admit I overreacted and screamed, "What are you doing?" He realized what he'd done and pulls the pot off our daughter's plate and straight onto the countertop. I grab it quickly and run it under water to cool it down. I tell him I can't tonight. I can't deal with him. I'm taking my meds and going to sleep. He gets a cup from the cupboard and sets it straight onto the burner that'd been on. I hit my limit. I started crying. He kept saying that it was fine. Things happen. It's just an accident. He's had a rough day from streaming. He's just tired. Why am I crying? It's just a cup. We can replace it. The anger hit and I said, "It's because I have a liability and not a partner." He said, "What the FCK does that mean?" I screamed that it's because I can't trust him to do anything, that I'm always having to watch him like a child, always having to bear the costs of his mistakes. That every time I get careless and think I can trust him to be an adult, I'm always the one getting FKT'd over. I then said, "I can't see you as a partner anymore. You're just another liability in my checkbook." He immediately stormed out of the kitchen and went to bed. I called my mom and told her what happened. She thinks it's just stress and offered to take our daughter for a week so we could figure this out without our daughter seeing it. She says it was an asshole thing to call my husband a liability. In the morning, I told my husband that my mom would pick up our daughter from summer camp and offered to watch her for a week. He said okay, and that's the only interaction we've had since. He spends all day in the garage playing games with his friends, making TikToks and streaming. For food, he's been ordering DoorDash and having the person deliver it in the garage. It's been days and he refuses to be in the same room as me. I've tried messaging him to ask if we can talk or figure out a solution, but he's just left me on read. If I pop into the garage, he ignores me but apologizes to his friends or viewers for the interruption and geek unmute his mic when the noise stops. Before the blow-up, I've asked if there was something going on. I tried to gently respond every time he screwed up so our daughter didn't associate mistake to anger. I asked him to schedule with a doctor to see if something was going wrong medically. He always said I was overreacting, people make mistakes, and didn't see an issue even when the same mistakes kept happening. When I tried to get him to understand that it was concerning just how expensive his mistakes were getting, he'd wave it off as it's not like we can't afford it. I love him dearly, I just miss the person he was before we had a child. The one I could trust and rely on. Did I screw this up forever? Was I being too harsh on his mistakes? Am I missing something? Am I the asshole? First comment. I'm sorry this is happening, and I honestly think something is very, very wrong with your husband. There's several occurrences that can't be seen as mistakes, and you are not overreacting. Forgetting a pot on the stove is obviously dangerous, but leaving the door open with a toddler means he doesn't seem to be situationally aware enough to keep his child safe. It's not just the same mistakes over and over again, it's the fact that the consequences are getting worse and worse that can't be minimized and ignored. He really shouldn't be driving ... anything. Nor should your toddler be left alone with him. If he's unwilling to seek medical advice and deflecting, you may need to consider having him leave your home. He's a walking disaster, literally. NTA. Second comment. Day. Honestly, how does he actually contribute to your household? He's not working, yet he's not taking care of the house either. If you worked and he was stay-at-home parent who cleans, cooks, and takes care of kids, it would be different, but your child is in daycare camp. You pay for cleaner and your husband is unable to perform even small household tasks without causing more mess. You would have easier time as single parent. You would not have stress over what accident your husband causes next. You wouldn't have to be worried about your child's safety, and you would have more money since you wouldn't have to feed a grown man. He doesn't value you, your daughter's safety, your household, and pretty much anything. His lack of communication and unwillingness to get himself checked for medical issue is another red flag. If I were you, I'd speak to a decent divorce lawyer to see where you stand in eventual divorce, and I'd start putting my ducks in a row for that eventuality. The accidents where only stuff is broken are annoying, even though his "it's not like we can't afford it" attitude is so entitled. How does he contribute to the fact you can afford it? He's just a leech. However, the accidents which would endanger my or my child's safety would be an absolute deal breaker. If he knows he's prone to these types of things, he should be extra careful with things which could cause permanent damage or put you or your child at risk. How many kids died because parents forgot them in the car? What if your house started to burn from the stove? What if he left the door open during the day when your daughter wouldn't be sleeping? All of these are super scary scenarios. But exactly because of these what-ifs, I'd go through the struggle of separation and divorce. So, NTA, hearing truth sometimes hurts, but it doesn't make it any less true. He is a liability, even worse than having another child, and if you tried talking to him about it in the past and he didn't listen, it needed to be said in a way which would make him realize the severity of issues this is causing. Third comment. How much money does he get if you divorce? Maybe he is trying to get you to end things so he gets your money. What reason does he have for not working? Everything he is doing sounds like things most women would leave him for, so it makes me think he is trying to get you to leave him. Is he making money off of these streams he does? Does he contribute to the household in any way because you said he takes care of the domestics and in the same sentence said you get a cleaner? So what domestics is he taking care of? Who is paying for the DoorDash that he never asks if you want some of? If the dude doesn't have a tumor on his frontal lobe, he is just an idiot. You're right, he is just a liability. He just checked out of your marriage. He probably resents your daughter because he realizes he will have to care for her one day when you are in a wheelchair. Get rid of him as cheaply as you possibly can. Fourth comment. NTA, he's taking advantage of you. Either he's narcissistic or he has a brain tumor. Because he cannot actually be this Saint Pede, him forgetting everything is ridiculous. I suffer from chronic pain and extreme brain fog. Yet I remember my partner's shoe size and never leave the door open. He's either doing this on purpose or something is seriously wrong. Stop funding his lifestyle. Take away all the credit cards. If he's going to act like a child, treat him like one. No more driving for him if he can't remember which pedal is which. No tinkering with cars. None of that BS. He's seriously either St. Pid and a narcissist or a medical mess. If he refuses to see a doctor, get a divorce. I'm serious. He can't even be a husband or father. He spends all his time on his hobbies. He has no job, no prospects, and mooches off you 24/7. He is a liability.